Liberal Arts, and the Purdue Alumni Association, welcome. We'd also like to extend a special welcome to visitors of Purdue and returning alumni. My name is Alyssa Yadov. I am a senior studying anthropology and a student with Project Impact. You can read in your brochure more about Project Impact and how it empowers students to lead. The opportunities Project Impact provides, such as this forum, is made possible with the help of our sponsors and partners. Please join me in thanking them now. The two gentlemen on stage behind me appeared at Purdue last year in a similar format, yet under very different circumstances. As with that last interview, we encourage you to come to the front of the aisle and ask any questions you have. As to the Project Impact Forum, we also encourage you to tweet in your questions to our Twitter account at project_impact. That information is also in your brochure. My fellow Project Impact student, Scott Oliver, and I will be monitoring your Twitter questions as well as live tweeting the forum. Please join me in welcoming Brian Lamb and Governor Mitch Daniels.
As I've been saying for days now, every time somebody asks me why this event and what my role is, it's about students. And I want to start right now by I asked Paul Rosenberger to have a question ready, and I want to ask him to come up and ask the first question so we can get the student questions involved right away. Paul?
Thank you. My name is Paul Rosenberger. I'm a senior in electrical engineering. In recent years, there's been a noticeable trend that areas where the university excels very well, such as engineering rankings, prestige, and research initiatives, have been prioritized, whereas programs that are lesser known or do not bring in money, whether it's research funding or grant funding to the university, often get overlooked or underfunded. Although Purdue is often seen as a bargain university, tuition and fees cannot continuously increase without a proportionate benefit to the students. How would you go about changing the current funding model, and how would you balance the needs of the faculty and the students without ensuring the high-quality education for all students?
Okay, Brian, let's hear it. Me. Thank you, Paul. I think that's a great first question because it evokes some of the largest questions, not just this university, but all, or most, at a time of a lot of stress and some big challenges to the model we've known are being raised on a daily basis. Let me say that it isn't yet clear to me the extent to which, I accept the premise of your question and treat that as a learning point for the day, but it hasn't been clear to me the extent to which there has been, on a resource basis, particular emphasis in one place or another. Most of what I have heard about resource allocation here, and for that matter, in much of higher ed, is that all the children get treated more or less equally, and people are reluctant to make significant decisions to prioritize one activity or one realm of learning over another, and that's a very human and natural tendency, but probably not the way to achieve excellence anywhere. And so I've got no prejudgments about how, if at all, recent resource allocation ought to change. My strong disposition is that if there's any subject ripe for, as we say, shared governance and a broad discussion across the Purdue community, that's it. We have to have I hope we'll have a continuing open discussion. A rule of life is that if you try to be great at everything all at the same time, you're likely to be mediocre at most things. And so we may have to make some of those decisions, but that's what goes with positions like mine and many you will hold in what I know is going to be a great career.
Next student question, and while you're going up to the microphone wherever you are, and I hope you go quickly because we don't want to waste the governor's time. What's the first day that you'll actually be president of the university?
I don't know exactly. Indiana does not swear in a new governor on New Year's Day. It's set by statute, and I think it's something like the 10th of January. People keep asking me everywhere I go, are you going to take some time off? I said, what's time off? I barely remember the concept, but not my impression is that I'll serve my last morning of duty in this job and come up here that afternoon or close to it. Because as I understand it, the new semester will be underway by the time I transition out.
I've had the pleasure in the last couple of days of watching 5 hours of this man in this room talking to professors.
And students.
Mostly
Staff.
professors.
I was here, Brian.
I was there.
Okay.
But I watched all that, and the question I have for you is, what surprised you about that experience? And I know you've talked to a lot of other people.
When a world is new to you, everything's a surprise in a sense. I was always stumped by this question in my current job. It's the only elected office I had ever run for, let alone held. And so people say, what surprised you most about being governor? Well, I could say everything. Boy, it's a little bit of a blur. As you say, we did 5 hours over the course of 2 days in these sessions. They were incredibly valuable, I thought, to me, just to hear what was on folks' mind. But I'll tell you, something that was a very pleasant surprise. Again and again, I heard faculty, but not just faculty, say that Purdue is a place, as they see it, in which people collaborate well across disciplines, and that it's something of an expected way of life now. And to the extent that's true, I think that's a terrific strength, and I think it reflects some really great leadership, or much of it in the last 10 or 15 years. But this is something that notoriously higher ed is not known for. It's known for narrow focus, silos, turf, territoriality, and I was very pleased because it came up more than once. People either to cite their own experience or just to observe that at Purdue, and some would say much more than the university I came from, that sort of thing, people look for ways to encounter and perhaps collaborate across all the disciplines and all the brilliance that's here. So that sounded like great news, and I'm sure it's something we can encourage still further, because it's the way of most progress in today's world. But I liked what I heard about that.
Project Impact students are very much involved in the interaction with public officials. Jennifer, do you have a question for the governor?
Better, Jennifer.
Jennifer Toole.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Toole. I'm a senior in political science. Some say that they criticize that you don't come from an academic background. What do you plan to do in your presidency to silence these critics?
Well, I don't believe in silencing critics. I mean, first of all, if a university is anything, it's a place of open inquiry and a place where you'd expect disagreement on everything. I mean, first of all, we're a large community, right? This alumni weekend, that will remind us that we're not merely 50,000 people here, more or less, faculty, students, staff. We're a 6-digit community of people. Somewhere out there's someone who doesn't agree with black and gold as the school colors, right? So, progress happens through disagreement and criticism, whether it's in the advance of science or public policy and so forth. So that's a starting point. Now, so there won't be any silencing. But I take this very seriously, and I hope the only answer really that I that I personally would find satisfactory would come in results. And I'm very hopeful about that. Now, it is hardly unheard of in higher ed. I've gone and looked it up. Let me say something here. I'm sure there are several students on this campus studying harder than I am right now, but not very many. I've been on field trips. I've been reading everything inside. I've talked to people all over America, and of course, lots of time here on the campus. And one of the things I'd find is that it's between a fifth in public universities and something more than a quarter across all universities of the presidents did not come straight from an academic background. So it's not quite so unusual as some folks think. And many of them have done pretty well, and I'm going to try to go to school on what worked well for them. But I think that if this selection, and again, it'll all be in the performance, but if this selection proves ultimately to have been a wise one for Purdue, and I'm going to do all I can to make that the case, then it might well be because at a time of great difficulty for higher ed and many challenges, financial, educational, technological, to every institution of higher ed in the country, that a person who brings some experiences that are complementary to the deep, fabulous academic talent that is here might prove to add some value. And that'll be my goal, to look at, in any job, and all the jobs you have, Jennifer, your first question you're going to ask yourself is, where can I, given who I am, what I know, what I've learned, where can I add value? And that's what I'm thinking hard about. I think I see some opportunities.
You tweet?
You know, I don't. And I don't lead a very interesting life. And I couldn't figure out why anybody would really want to know, what I did the last 5 minutes. So, I'm not closed-minded about it. I got some of my younger friends a few years ago got me to start a Facebook site, which I did out of, the curiosity of it all, but I honestly don't get much out of it, and I'm not sure the readers do, but I'm open to the idea.
Well, we'll see what impact it has on this session right now, because Scott or Alicia have tweets. Well, go ahead, you've got a question. Right ahead. We'll get
Okay.
the tweets after that.
Okay. Hi, my name is Hillary Cherry. I'm a senior at Purdue University, studying political science and sociology. Do you have any plans to increase transparency within the university budget in order to hold Purdue more accountable and ultimately to provide a top quality education at prices that students and their families can afford?
Was it Laurie? I didn't hear your first name.
Hillary.
Hillary.
Yeah.
Hillary, that sounds like a great idea. I thought maybe I was the only one who didn't understand it. Without knowing exactly how or exactly what transparency will mean, I think this is good practice in any walk of life. Are you from Indiana?
Yes.
Okay, well, your state government wins all these awards for transparency. You can look through our website, see results of everything we do. You can look at every contract, the day it's let, all these sorts of things. So, yes, I think it's very good practice to start with. And if we're going to have, let's go back to the very first question. If we're going to have, make wise decisions about finite resources, and involve people in them, then I think that implies that it can't be just that only a handful of people know where the money's being spent and how. So I'm hoping to move in exactly the direction you're talking about, first for my own understanding, but with a bigger objective in mind.
Thank you.
Where are you from?
Hobart, Indiana.
Just came from right there.
Okay.
Yep. You're a brickie.
Yes.
I know.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Scott, Alicia, do you have a tweet?
Yes, our first question.
Why don't you use the mic, because that mic's not working.
Brian, is this what they call outsourcing in journalism? I mean, you haven't asked a single question. You're a hardworking guy, but you're not working very hard right now.
Just so you know, I have a couple
Okay.
for you.
Our first question comes from Paula Dwyer, and she asks, what challenges are ahead for Purdue that you think will demand your attention?
Well, Paula, that is the big question, and I'll have to be concise in this. But let me start on the strength side of the ledger. This is a strong university, and the first thing you want to say is that you want to make certain to preserve its strengths, and which include its great traditions and history. In particular, I think its well-deserved reputation. In fact, it deserves an even stronger reputation than it already has for the quality of its teaching, the rigor of its teaching, and on the other side of that value equation, the relatively affordable price at which that education comes. And my central objective, and this is the challenge facing all of higher ed right now, is going to be, in one way or another, so many other things will align with this or trace to this, will be to try to steadily improve on the great value that a Purdue education provides. And we saw this splendid demonstration. I hope everyone here noticed the ranking by an outfit called Smart Money, which, as I understand it, matched a 50 or 60 million person database of compensation against alumni lists or something, and discovered, looking at Purdue grads 5 years out and 15 years out and seeing how they're doing in life, and comparing that to the tuition and fees paid here. Across all of American higher ed, we're number 8. If there's one ranking I would love to see Purdue continue to lead and even improve on, that's it, because it would sum up so many other great performances that have to go together, if you see what I mean, to make that work. It means that we have to have a great faculty who is preparing people better than anyone for the world. It would mean that as stewards of the university's resources, we were being smart enough and careful enough that we could keep the doors of this place open as they must be to any young person, regardless of income. And so if I was going to wrap an answer to a gigantic question that could have hundreds of answers, literally, I would say that's it.
Lisa Abrego, your question for the governor.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. As Brian said, I'm Lisa Abrego, and I'm a senior in the College of Liberal Arts. As a spin-off to those concerned with you not coming from an academia background, I strongly believe that as an executive professional, you're going to be of great benefit to Purdue. What experience do you think will be most useful as Purdue's president and leader, and why?
Maybe here's where I give you the answer I gave backstage. Lisa, I think, first of all, I hope that the years I spent in business will be of some use. To some extent, the years I've spent in government at different levels, although I think that could be overrated. Let me cite two, one pretty serious and one somewhat frivolous, less expected answers. For 3 or 4 years, I ran a research institute. It had about 80 or 90 brilliant people there. They worked in a multidisciplinary or cross-disciplinary way. We had to earn our money every day. We had to conceive of new knowledge that someone might be interested in and go find someone who was interested, just like the research endeavor here. And it was called the Hudson Institute. It has a very proud intellectual tradition. It was obviously an exercise in shared governance. It was, the fellows there used to refer to it as a university without the nuisance of students. Don't take that personally, but I think I've been thinking about those days a lot. It helped me think, it certainly trained me to think in different ways. Contrarian was a term often applied to the work of that place, and it gave me, I hope, some appreciation for the need to support those whose talent, and here, of course, we mean the faculty, means everything to the success of the enterprise. And the other experience, which I know is going to come in very handy, was serving on a Presbyterian session. Anybody who doesn't think I understand shared governance has never been an elder in a Presbyterian church. Everything is, we try to get everybody on board, and we pray and we talk about it till we do. So That's gonna serve me well.
Thank you.
By the way, one of the reasons that I particularly am proud of these young folks asking questions is that they were a Maymester students, a lot of them out at our place with Carolyn Curiel's class, and they also participated in a national interview show, and they did a fabulous job. And there's another one right there, Chad Barker. I have to warn you, he's a Republican.
Good afternoon, Governor. Thanks for coming. My name is Chad Barker. I'm a junior studying political science and minoring in management in Spanish. And my question is, what challenges does the tenure system pose to operating a university with both efficiency and accountability?
I don't know yet. I mean, I think that I hope the answer is none. I hope the answer is that this system, which has grown up to protect the free inquiry we were talking about earlier, and is, I think, probably indispensable to that, is entirely consistent with a university that operates to maximize the value we were talking about, that doesn't waste money or time, that maintains high standards. Now, to some extent, this has to be the responsibility of course, of the faculty themselves. I don't intend to meddle in it. But I hope that anywhere that, and again, it's a big community, people being what they are, I understand that at least in some places in higher ed, tenure can become a shield for lack of diligence. It can become a shield for lack of progress. People can go stale or go flat. Let's just hope that's not the case here. Let's hope that the high standards that are so manifest at Purdue will be brought to bear through proper peer interventions, if it ever is. And then I think on the other part of your question, a huge percentage, and probably needs to be bigger, of the resources of this place are decided and dispensed by the faculty themselves or by the colleges collectively. And I sure hope that we will all embrace an ethic of stewardship and care so that the people who come after you can afford to come here and not leave in financial distress.
Thank you.
Alicia, do you have tweets?
We have plenty.
I know, but I just want to just tell us just give us an idea of what kind of questions are coming in so that we can share that with the governor. These are people that don't have to step up to a microphone. Scott, you want to try? Can you give us a couple? If you can't.
We've been getting some great questions. One is, how will you work to unite campus across cultures?
Well, I'm going to try.
Did everybody hear that? Go up to the mic, because that mic does not work. And we either ought to get another one or just use the one up there.
Sorry about that. This is from the student Laura Donaldson, and she asks, how will you help us to unite campus across cultures?
I hope I've already started in a very tiny way. During Oiler Gold Rush Week and a couple of my other trips up here, I've made the point over and over in open forums like the ones Brian, for some reason, subjected himself to watching, but just encountering students in small groups too. I think one of the spectacular strengths of this place is the heterogeneity that we have here, and the international students, of course, being a very big part of that. And I hope it's apparent to every Purdue student what a marvelous dimension that is, and opportunity that is. Some of the best learning, greatest learning that a student could take away from this place might happen in those encounters, and the understanding of people who come from a different walk of life, different ethnic group, different nation. So I'm going to do all I can to both encourage students to take advantage of that, and anywhere I see what one hears about, elsewhere at least in higher ed, sort of self-segregation, in which this group or that goes off and cloisters itself or huddles together in some place, or which defeats the whole purpose of the heterogeneity that we want to grow here. So I think that I see that as very much part of the mission of strengthening the education that every student extracts from Purdue.
Next, this gentleman's, I think, and then we'll get to the one in the middle. Go ahead if you want. You're right there.
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, my name is Kristen Pennington. I'm a junior majoring in public relations. I put it on my iPhone, so. Programs like Upward Bound, Academic Boot Camp, and the Business Opportunities Program assist in the overall achievement of Purdue students during their time here. What are your specific goals for these programs, and where do you see them in the next 2 years?
I think our common goal has got to be to make them much more successful even than they are today. It's not a secret that one, in fact, it may be the single most common criticism right now of higher ed is that far too few students succeed. They don't complete, or it takes them a very long time to complete, with the means that with the more cost associated with it and so forth. So I'm very excited by the programs of special emphasis that Purdue has already started to try to make a difference. Our record is not the worst around, but it's not that good, and it needs to be much, much better in my opinion. And so this, for me, would be an area of very special concentration.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Brendan Hack. I'm a senior in the College of Education. Some of my peers in the College of Education were some of your more, I guess, vocal opposition when your appointment first got announced. Is there some sort of message you'd like to send to them just to kind of alleviate some of their concerns?
It depends on what their concerns are. If their concerns are that public education is changing and reforming and I don't like it, then I disrespectfully disagree. And as I said in that one forum, that intellectual argument I think is over. Across the political spectrum, across the partisan divide, those who believe that the K-12 system as we've known it should be left alone are a very marginal group now. And I hope I won't find that the Purdue School of Education is a redoubt of reactionary thinking. We should be leaders of reform, as far as I'm concerned. And I think there's a tremendous opportunity for the School of Ed here. Multiple opportunities, and the college will have to decide whether to seize them, and if so, which one. But let's take an obvious one. There is no, I mean, the K-12 system in America, does anybody miss the point that it's performing terribly? Did you see the SAT scores just this week, worst in 40 years? This is not a system that needs to be left alone. And here in Indiana, we have made lots of changes. And so one of the crying needs, one of the most mentioned needs, is the absence of so-called STEM educators, people who are excellent at teaching science and technology and math. What school in America, if it chose to, could become the premier producer of excellent STEM teachers and have the world beat a path to its door to hire them? Now, maybe that's not the right choice. The college will have to make these choices, but, you know, I'd like to see us lead in these areas. There's a lot to be figured out. The day is over. And by the way, you said your peers. You didn't say the faculty, you said your peers. Here's what I'd say to your peers. The reforms that are going on around America, President Obama's forum, Arnie Duncan's forum, and we're leading in seeing that teachers are measured and rewarded on performance, not seniority, are so in the interest of your peers. The least fair thing about the system that we've lived with and that has failed us for so long, I think maybe the least fair thing is that the young teacher or the new teacher, no matter how good, is at the end of the line. Now, what is right about that? We've had teachers of the year laid off because they didn't have seniority enough in a shrinking district. So, I would hope to spend lots of time with folks in your department and to try to figure out ways in which we could distinguish ourselves as an excellent school of education, and one that everybody wants to get into, one that's harder to get into, by the way, while I'm sorry you hit a hot button here. You know that in the nations of this earth that are known for excellence in teaching, they don't pay the teachers particularly more. In fact, sometimes much less. The common denominator is it's a highly esteemed profession, and the reason it's highly esteemed is it's hard to be one. It's hard to be a teacher in Finland or Israel or a couple of the Asian countries. And, you know, I think that there's another suggestion we might think about.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Jacob Maddox. I'm a senior in pharmacy and Spanish. I just had a question. You were talking about how with a career you look for opportunities where you can add value, and you try to do that. What's a specific example of a way that you think you can add value to the university, and how you're going to do that?
I can raise a lot of money, just to be crass about it. No, I mean, I don't say that to be flip, really. I mean, in a time like this, we're going to need to go out and find friends of this school and try to get them as excited as we are about the great things that the school's doing and can do. I think I can be, I hope I can be a factor in making certain that we gather resources from any possible direction. So fundraising is one, but so might be examining the assets we're holding. Could some of them be turned into a higher purpose, which I would start, when I think of purposes, at strengthening the faculty and keeping the school affordable. Again, using the dollars we're spending now more carefully. I'll be saying to people on this campus, please remember, wherever you are, if you're spending money on behalf of Purdue University, please remember, by and large, those dollars either came from a student's family or a taxpayer. So we better be darn careful how we spend them. And wherever possible, we want to spend them for the benefit of the students and the strengthening of the faculty, which is what brought the students here. So I also, and this will be a side assignment, I guess, but I want to be an advocate, and I hope I can be, for higher ed generally. At a time, the first time in my life, first time I think ever, where it's really under fire. And I know you're busy studying pharmacy and Spanish, and that's what you're supposed to be doing, but I bet even you aren't missing this blizzard of books and articles and conferences and all, saying things we never heard before. Too many kids are going to college. It's not worth it. There's no rigor in it. People are studying useless courses, and everybody gets a high grade regardless. And the online education is going to wipe out the whole thing anyway. And I hope that in my principal job of being an advocate for Purdue University, which is in so many ways already a great counterexample to these phenomena that are bothering people, I can, in a little way, be an advocate for the whole idea of higher education in the research university in particular, to folks who either have never quite understood it or have come to question it.
Thank you.
I hope I can do more than that, but there's a start.
No, it was a really good answer.
Thank you, sir.
Governor, I've been waiting. I watched all those sessions with the professors and today, and I'm astounded that no one has asked you the following. Why does this university pay Matt Painter $2.3 million a year? Why does this university pay Danny Hope $1.2 million a year? And why does the president of the university, the last president, make something on the order of $500,000 a year? And what does that say? It's going on nationwide. And your entire sessions you've had have always been about teaching and education and developing research.
Okay. Well, in that inimitable Brian Lamb fashion, he's asked a very appropriate and important question that nobody else had asked. He's spent a career doing this, and he's right to bring it up. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. So let me just tell you exactly what I think. I can remember many times in the past when some friends say, what are you going to do when you're done with this? I don't know, never know. And they would say, how about you be a university president? I go, oh, Josh, that couldn't work. And one of the reasons I'd say that wouldn't fit is, college athletics is out of control, at least in Division I. And it's filled with excess, money, often hypocrisy, double standards, and I just couldn't be part of it. And if I hadn't been convinced that Purdue is an outlier to that, I couldn't have come here. And so it was a really, I thought, lucky break for me when the search committee came around knocking, that Morgan Burke was one of the members. He just was. I don't know how the committee was constituted, but we didn't talk a lot about it, but I was able to learn a little bit. And I just want to say, and I've got lots more to learn about this, that I appreciate that Purdue has, to my knowledge, done better than virtually any school I know in Division I at three things that I think matter most. One, at holding up high standards of conduct. If somebody gets out of line, there must be a consequence. You can't treat athletes differently than you would any other student, and the place needs to say that there are conduct that's acceptable and conduct that's not, and same rule for everybody. Two, student athletes have to be students, and that means real students studying real courses. And again, there's data that says that. I enjoyed pointing out to the freshman class in Mackey, that if you guys don't study hard, these athletes will have a higher grade point average than you do for the 31st semester in a row. Three, the program pays for itself. It's not taking a student's tuition dollar that could go to hire the next faculty member, or could have been not charged in the first place, to support the athletic program. Now, I should have started this answer by saying something else, which is there's not a bigger sports fan in this auditorium than I am. If you want to have a trivia contest, if you want to, talk, sports issues of the day, I'll go toe to toe. I'm passionate. Purdue will not have had a bigger sports fan in this job since Fred Hovde, maybe. But those things I just said I think are important. And so leave it to you to flush them out. I knew sooner or later I'd wind up talking about this. I guess this is as good a time as any. I just want to tell you, when Morgan and I visit about this, Morgan, if you're listening, here's my outlook. There's three things above the line. I just named them. Never embarrass the school. The student athletes have really got to be students, no fudging, and pay for yourself. If you do those three things, then I really want you to win. I really want you to win. But if you win and you didn't do all those three things, then we're going to have a discussion.
As long as we're on this subject, I read somewhere where there's something like $24 million on average that each Big Ten college has to distribute based on the money they've made from the Big Ten network.
Is it up to 24?
And there are a lot of people in this room, professors and department heads, would love to know how that's going to be distributed. And Tim Sands probably has the answer to that right now, but I thought you might want to comment on that.
Well, I'll just say I was visited by the commissioner of the Big Ten before they started the network, and came around. I don't know if they went to every state, but he came to see me, and privately told me what they had in mind, and I thanked him and have watched with interest. It's been a great success. I personally still hope they get back to their original concept, which was it wouldn't be only sports, that it would also, there'd be programming that showed some of the intellectual achievement that's going on in the Big Ten. Maybe there's not an audience for it, but I hope they'll try. But anyway, it's been a huge success, and yes, the revenue, I guess, is rising. 24 is the biggest number I'd heard yet. All I can say is that ought to make it even more secure that the athletic program pay for itself. And I know in at least one recent year, the program supported the general fund of the university or a construction project. Great. You know, maybe we can do more of that. I guess the other way to say this is that continuing, if that large new source of money continues or even keeps growing, I don't believe it. Our first instinct should not be let's go spend it all on the athletic program. Maybe it can be a part of the core purpose of the university if there's really a little left over.
I think that's probably what a lot of people who are not in the athletic department wanted to know here in this room, but let's go over here.
Hello, Governor. My name is Brenton Pavel, senior in aviation management.
Hey, Brent.
And my question to you is, Purdue has a great history with the Greek community, and we're one of the best in the Big Ten, best in the nation. How are you going to continue to support us and strengthen the Greek community?
Brenton, I think it's very much part of the answer I gave before, talking about it was framed in terms of cultures and so forth. But again, the diversity and heterogeneity of the place includes, as far as I'm concerned, that option. And I think that's terrific. I intend to be as much a booster of that system or a protector if need be, as I am of any of the other organizations in which, hundreds of organizations to which students here belong. And I've already had a couple of dinner invitations, which I'm looking forward to accepting. You know, I'm up for a free meal as often as I can get one.
Hi, my name is Hannah Smith, and I am a senior in the School of Communication. My question is, there are many classes at Purdue that are merely lectures with over 100 students, and these classes are some of the biggest complaints I hear from my peers across the board, and I was wondering, what will you do to facilitate greater student-faculty interaction and help students gain more hands-on experience?
Thanks, Hannah. Well, this kind of questions comes up. I read a lot about it, and I've heard it in different ways. You know, to some extent, it's the faculty's responsibility to make enough time and to have enough interest to have a lot of interaction. Now, I will say, back to something Brian asked earlier, that I heard a lot of positives about that. I've met students who have been at some other school first and said that's one of the things they noticed here. But I know it can vary from literally professor to professor, but I hope that that's the general ethic of the place. Now, there are a lot of interesting things going on, and Purdue has not been left behind here in terms of trying to find ways. You're talking about these huge lectures or large lectures. There's a lot of experimentation going on in higher ed, and Purdue's taking part, to see if there's not a way maybe to get that done through, on your time, at your convenience, by computer, online, etc. And then to concentrate the class time on more give and take, answering questions, helping students with those things they didn't catch during the lecture. And I'm very excited about that, and I hope that we'll be here in the forefront, at least, of working with these new hybrid, flipped, there's a lot of jargon, methods, with the goal you're talking about of making sure that the student did capture the basic instruction, and or if not, had a chance to catch up through a direct exchange. Yeah? Thank you.
I know that it's a decision you have to make, but I just, on behalf of Howard Seifer and Budweiser and Carolyn Curiel and myself, I'm tangentially associated with the School of Communications. I'll speak for myself, but I hope that you'll consider teaching a course around political science, communications, and business. And I just want to go on the record while I have a chance and have you under the spotlight.
Well,
Budweiser is the boss.
well, you better let Bud speak for himself. You know, he may not want.
I'm lobbying him too.
Lower the standards of the department. I fully intend to, or hope to. Let me put it that way. I've had this conversation. I'm delighted to tell you that at least 3 colleges have raised it with me, which is at least 1 or 2 more than I might have hoped for.
We want to be first.
Well, you know, it's another value-added question. I really want to do it. I think, by the way, I think it pretty near an obligation to do it, but that's not the point. My friend Art Hansen, I quoted him already once on this to this effect, said, "No one learns more at a college campus than the president," and that's really going to be true of me. And this will be one, I'm sure, of the best ways I could learn. No, my hope is by the fall semester of next year, it wouldn't be fair to the students. It just wouldn't work for me to try to plunge right in. But no, that's one of my goals for the first half of next year, or at the latest, the second semester. And I've asked already for people to give me some thoughts about both the nature of the course and about how to put together a really good one. And it could be, obviously, it could be something in the world that I'm of government or politics, but it could also be something I could imagine at the business school. So I'm thinking about what might be a really substantive and different course to teach, but I sure do hope to do it.
Sir.
Good afternoon, Governor Daniels. My name is Jonathan Goodwin, and I'm a junior in political science and economics, minoring in history and peace studies. My question is, how do you propose specifically to promote the standing and opportunities of colleges often perceived to be overlooked and underrepresented, such as liberal arts, education, or health and human sciences, and increase the value of their degrees, especially considering when those paths often require postgraduate education and more potential debt for students?
Well, Jonathan, I'm a product of the liberal arts myself, so I sure don't need to be sold on their importance. I think they're fundamentally important here at Purdue in 2 ways. Most schools might be 1, but here it's 2. One is, of course, for students like you who choose that path, and so we want it taught here as well as it can be. Now, you say how to make certain that happens. I don't know yet, but it could well be that, and there's an exercise going on in this area, we may need to focus somewhat more, that is to say, to teach those things for which there is a market, for which there are students, a significant number of students who really want to study it, and then concentrate on doing that even better than today. Then, of course, Purdue's got this fabulous other mission of introducing to people who are going to excel in the sciences or in engineering and these other, in agriculture and these other more technical areas, introducing them, maybe the one chance they get, to the wisdom, the beauty, the critical way of thinking that comes through the liberal arts. And both of those are such vital missions that we will not lose sight of either one. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. I look forward to taking the class.
That'll be in the communications and political science.
Governor, it's an honor to listen to you speak and to be able to ask you a question. My name's Casey Pickrell, and I'm in the weekend MBA program at Krannert. I read an article in the Wall Street Journal a few years ago that provided a remarkable contrast between the healthcare cost soaring in Massachusetts in contrast to your reforms in Indiana with health savings accounts and other reforms. Are you considering bringing similar options to Purdue?
Well, Casey, I don't know yet. What I think I know, and know empirically in the best Purdue tradition, this isn't political theory. In our case, Indiana's an interesting test bed for what you're talking about. I don't remember exactly which article's been written up a lot, but here's the essence of it. We have two large populations in Indiana, and they're the largest collectively in the country in public life. One is our state employees, to whom we offered a consumerist health care option the first year, and it's now 90% of all state employees use it. So it's a health savings account, if you're familiar with that. And then when we sought to expand health insurance coverage to what sometimes are called the near poor, people who are not eligible for Medicaid but not well-to-do, we went a similar way. And so we now have years of experience and lots of data, and what does it show? It shows that costs are significantly less when people are making their own decisions about the first dollar they spend. Why anyone should be surprised about this, I don't know, but you know what I always say, if you give me a coupon for free pizza for life, I'll eat too much pizza. But what we have also learned is that people make smart decisions. Don't ever let anyone tell you that just because someone is low income, that they can't make perfectly prudent decisions. And so what we find is when people have an account that they own, and they're fully protected, this is what insurance is, by the way. Insurance doesn't, right? You understand. Your car insurance doesn't pay for your gasoline and your oil change. It's there if you have a wreck. Your home insurance doesn't pay for the routine things. Only in this bizarre corner we got ourselves in healthcare did we start sending all the bills to someone else, or most of them. And so people use generic drugs at a higher rate. They ask for second opinions at a higher rate. They use preventive health care at a higher rate. It's very interesting. So that's what we know. Now, Purdue, here's what I know. We are spending millions of dollars a year more on health insurance at Purdue than we would be if we were using that plan or something like it. And I mean, probably, it's not millions, it's tens of millions. That might be the right thing to do. But along with 1,000 other things, you're asking a useful question. Because, let's see, do a little quick mental math, but based on the estimates I've seen, if we were a part of the state health system, just to pick that one benchmark, it's the equivalent of about 4% tuition, of a year's tuition increase. So, we want the people of Purdue to have excellent health insurance. But all over the country, people are examining this whole subject. And the other thing I got to mention is, if the new federal law takes effect, and it looks like it will next year, that may shuffle all the cards and it appears to discriminate against the kind of plans I'm talking about. So might as well wait and see what that does and what it means.
What was your favorite professor at Princeton and why?
Might have been a communist named Wilson. He was very legendary, but and I thought he was, I guess he persuaded me for a little while, and then he didn't. But he was actually an outspoken socialist named Wilson. But he was very dynamic and bombastic. I liked him. There was a sociology professor named Marvin Bressler who was very well known, and I'll never forget. It wasn't a class. It was an impromptu ad hoc assemblage on the night that Martin Luther King was shot. And the word went out, Bressler's going to speak. And a lot of us, everyone was emotional and overwrought, and we packed into this lecture hall. And I wish there'd been a phone. I wish I could have taped it the way you could today. I'd be watching it all the time. He was unbelievable. So I was not. Here's a mistake I'll urge every Purdue student not to make. I didn't get close to nearly as many professors as I should have. Big mistake. But off the top of my head, those were two that were memorable, at least.
Did you ever fail a course?
No. No, I got in my life, which was pretty good grades, but I got one C and was in art. I took one art course. And I just didn't get it. I just don't have it. The professor, I did try. The professor, he'd stand in front of me. You can see that Caravaggio here is using chiaroscuro to illustrate something. I couldn't see it. Everybody else, I think, could see it. I just don't have that.
Good afternoon. My name is Emma Bertollet, and I'm a PhD student in the College of Liberal Arts.
Emma?
Yes.
Hi, Emma.
My question is, in light of past and recent incidents of bias on campus, how will you foster a greater sense of safety for students on campus, particularly women, members of the African American, Latino, LGBTQ, Asian American communities, etc.? Thank you.
Yeah,
I'll take
Emma,
my-
this is thank you for this question. Tim and my and the other folks here will probably remember. As I plunged into my courseware for this fall, as I say, I'm studying pretty hard. An important part of it has been a series of briefings we've been going through with various units of administrative units, and of course all the colleges and so forth. And I've got my office at home. PowerPoints are stacking up everywhere. But when we first embarked, I asked very purposely that the first one of all these be on safety, because it had dawned on me that in addition to the other responsibilities that are going to come with this job, I'm, in a way, the mayor of a city and responsible. I mean, we have a police department of our own. We have our own fire department, which only two schools in this state and very few in America do. So I'm very conscious of all that, and that was the very first briefing. Now, I was delighted to see how great the statistics were. I mean, I was struck by how few, at least in the last few years, incidents we've had. But I'm very mindful of this and plan to be regularly visiting with those folks to try to make certain that they and anybody else who has that kind of responsibility here doing the best job they can. And the data say that Purdue's a very safe place, but one incident is too many.
May I interrupt?
Sure.
I have recently discovered quantitative methods. I have 2 previous degrees in American Studies, and come from a very cultural studies foundation. And I am loving the merging of cultural studies and ethnographic and qualitative data and quantitative and the statistics that you are mentioning. However, in the conversations that I am having with many of my fellow PhD students, master's students, undergrad students who are members of, who are women, who are members of the LGBTQ community, who are members of the African American and the Latino and the Asian American community and the international community, is that while the data, the statistics are showing that yes, we are having low or lower reports, these incidents are going on far more than is being reported. And so those of us who spend all day on campus because we're TAs and we're taking classes and we're doing all of this, do not feel comfortable when we leave at 9:30 at night and it's dark and we have to walk across campus to our car. Or when we're studying at the library in the business school at 3 a.m. and someone writes a racial epithet. And it's only because, and the only reason we feel motivated to come forward is because 6 months ago, someone did the same thing to a former professor's memorial in that same building. So my concern, yes, I understand that the data is showing lower numbers, but the general feeling amongst those of us who might not have as great a representation as others on this campus is that we don't feel safe. And what are you going to do about it besides encouraging low statistics? Thank you.
Well, Emma, I mean, I think maybe your use of the word safety led me to answer you in a certain way. The examples that you're offering, I think, go more to a sense of as opposed to any actual injury or so forth that would show up in the data, go to a sense of lack of welcome or hostility or that sort of thing. And even one crude and unacceptable gesture, comment, something, can linger for a long time and create that. I understand it. We're just going to have to make it very plain. I know Tim has, in the one occasion I'm aware of, extremely plain. That's not acceptable here. That's one of those things I talked about. We have to have standards of conduct here at Purdue that are, I think, very high. And this sort of behavior, even if it doesn't involve any real physical menace to anybody, is out of bounds.
We've got 3 left, and that's going to be it. So we'll just try to get through them quickly.
Hello, my name is Natalie Russell. I'm a senior majoring in mass communications, minoring in law and society. I was just wondering, is there a way that you can improve on how the faculty decides if classes a transfer student took at their other college will replace a class at Purdue? For example, I have to go an extra semester because I've taken other classes, and one of my professors is actually, he knows that I've done this before, and he knows that this is just a repeat for me, so he's like changed the syllabus for me to like actually give me harder things to do.
Well, good for that professor. And Natalie, this is real important. Yesterday, this has been going on a long time, but apropos, yesterday at the Education Roundtable, which is a group in which meets quarterly on education issues in Indiana, every stakeholder in K-12 or all the way through higher ed is there. This was, again, the topic, and we're making huge strides in Indiana. This business that one school won't recognize another, the quality of another's teaching, has led to the situation that you talked about. It's a principal reason. When I ask students, what do you mean it's taken you 5.5 years to get through? This is the most common answer. It wasn't that I was loafing, it was that I changed direction, or maybe I changed school and I lost credit for everything I'd done. That's about to change in a huge way in the state. I won't go into the details now. We got an update yesterday, but we are now entering an era in which there will be a common numbering of courses across universities and a core of 30 credit hours that are going to be portable among any of them and mutually recognized, this sort of thing. I think that's what you're getting at. And I think it's great. I think it's overdue. It's part of the answer to affordability and to completion in a timely way. And I'm really grateful. I know Vic and others have worked on this. I'm really glad that Purdue has been a collaborator in this, and I hope we'll be a leader.
Thank you.
Addison.
Good afternoon. My name is Addison Bradford, and I'm a senior majoring in political science. I wanted to hear your thoughts on the current plan to switch to trimesters.
Addison, right?
Correct.
Addison, I am so proud of Purdue for this idea. The trimester idea, I think, is terrific. It's terrific, first and foremost, as a matter of accommodating students, folks like Natalie, who want to finish and extract the value of the education, move on in life. It's smart. It's very smart, obviously, from a resource standpoint. All this expensive bricks and mortar sitting largely empty for part of the year. You know, what other endeavor would find that smart? You know, I was one of my field trips was to the University of Chicago. I met with their brilliant president. And so I read up on the history of Chicago. They started as a 3-year school. They're not as old as Purdue, by the way. This is not some thing back in antiquity. And they went year-round. And so my reaction, reading up on the trimester idea, and this is, I was cheering for it long before the conversation started with the search committee. I thought, great, now there's leadership. Now I just have one question. Is 8 years to get there the best we can do? I think it's such a good idea. We're going to have a look at getting there sooner. And I hope everybody, I know that'll involve some changes, but doggone it, if we're going to do it, let's figure out how to make those changes. And before another couple cohorts of students go through, many of them taking longer and spending more than they might have.
Last question, sir.
Thomas Kessler, West Lafayette. I was a student at Purdue, an adult student at one time.
Yeah.
Governor, I am not a fan of yours. But if you need something to do on the first day, just outside these doors, there's a fountain that's not draining and the entrance light to the men's room is not lit. So
Okay.
And there's always a microphone around here that's not working. Actually, my question is to Mr. Lamb. I read in today's paper that you weren't surprised at all about the choice of the governor for Purdue's president, but to quote the paper, I don't know why. And I'd like to suggest a reason that one might not be surprised, and then ask you if you've thought about what you weren't able to answer too well. I think the governor is a foot soldier of the Powell Memo of 1971, and I think that memo translates today into the corporatization of education. And I was not at all surprised at the choice. Have you thought, since you were interviewed by Eric, why you were not surprised by the choice?
No.
Okay.
Thanks for asking, no.
The Powell guy must have been pretty clever, because I never heard, I'm a foot soldier of a memo I never heard of.
I will say this, and Eric I have a lot of respect for, but there are several things that are wrong in that interview, and I never thought I'd hear myself complain about a journalist. But I will say this also, I was interviewed while I was driving a car, and I shouldn't have been doing that, so I've been a bad boy, and I'm glad that your Indiana State Police weren't out there watching me.
As long as you weren't texting it, you're okay.
I'd like to hear, before we say goodbye to the governor, a nice round of applause for the students today. Before, I have a couple of very significant questions to ask you in light of what the last gentleman said. And it's a joke, really. Are you I know you're planning to live at Westwood, but are you planning to move there? Is your wife going to be with you? And will we see her eventually on campus?
Well, I'm going to move there, meaning that'll be my home base. Now, we're not selling our house, which is just over an hour away, and was built for grandchildren who, I'm happy to say, finally began to show up. I've told the story many times when we never built a house before, and Sherry said, you know, I think the kids are grown up now, and we ought to have another house. And I thought she meant this. And I was in my yes, dear mode, and, you know, we never did this. We're only going to do it once. Sure. And then I discovered it when it was this. And when I asked her, what are we going to do with all that room? She says, for the grandchildren. I said, honey, we don't have any grandchildren. She said, if I build it, they will come. So, and they did, you know, one in January, one in August, and there's another one on the way in next February. So suddenly we're in the grandchildren business. So we're going to keep the house, and I'm going to be here. Westwood, I've only been in it once. Beautiful. They don't spend a nickel. I might put up some paintings I understand, but otherwise, you know, it's fine by me. And we have to buy some furniture and put in there, by the way, because we won't be, you know, moving everything we own. And I don't know how, you know, Sherry's going to be here, but I just don't know yet how much. She's on regular grandma duty now. The two grandchildren are very close, which is wonderful. And the third one's going to be down in Bloomington, and so not far. So we'll just have to, should have just said an hour south, shouldn't I? So we'll have to see about that, but she's a lot of fun. I mean, she was adopted by the Purduettes a few years ago. They were and she had pen pals of that group for a long time. She loves young people, relates to them just like that. And so she'll be back and forth, and we'll just have to see what percent.
Last question. You asked the professors and the staff folks during your sessions to tell you what they were most proud of. Mm-hmm. That's the question I'd like to ask you as the final. What are you most proud of?
At Purdue?
Just in your life.
My family. 4 girls of high character. And I give my wife the maximum credit for that. I played a part, but you know, I guess every father thinks this, but you can take it from me. They are all honest and upright. 3 of them have marriages which look strong, and they're they're succeeding professionally, and so that's an easy answer. Everything else is secondary. Or you know, if I didn't feel that had worked out well, then other things wouldn't matter much.
Scott?
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Governor Daniels. Thank you all for coming this evening and coming to this great event. My name is Scott Oliver, and I'm a member of Project Impact. I'm a communication major and plan on attending law school next year. I've been a member of Project Impact for roughly a year now, and throughout my experience, I've gained valuable connections. I've had the experience of working with great student leaders, and this has prepared me for my future career. We're glad to have you all attend this event this evening, but before you go, I'd like to introduce Paul Brenham, a senior in nuclear engineering, and Jennifer Toole, a senior in political science, as they present our guests with a little gift.
This is when the check comes.
Familiar with that. Oh, thank you, Jennifer.
For doing Project Impact. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, thank you. Thank you for a great question, too.
You want to open your gift and get a couple of shots if you want?
Sure. In it, so it's like something to wear, huh? Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. For my growing collection. You want to put it on? Is that?
Sure, we can get a couple of pictures.
Oh, okay, all right. All right.
Thank you so much.
This is good.
Well done.
Did you know you had a...
And one last announcement before you all leave. I would like to invite you all to our next event that will be held on October 17th concerning the economy and the upcoming election. Our special guest for that evening is someone who happens to be in our audience this evening, the co-CEO of C-SPAN, Susan Swain. Thank you all for coming, and have a great night.